Hey, MS Insight friends. Welcome back to another IG Live with MS Insight. I am your host, Erica, and we are back with another IG Live interview. I'm so excited to talk with you today and to bring you our guest, Shana. There she is. She's going to jump on in just a second. I'm so excited to talk with her. Here is her request. Let me bring her on. Okay, she's going to come on. We're going to talk to her a little bit about her story, her MS story, which you know we love to share those here at MS Insight. Hey!
Hello.
How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm actually finagling with my camera because I was like, I don't know how it's going to look.
I think you're good. You're totally centered. So I think you're good.
Awesome. Yay!
Yay, you're here. Okay, so am I saying your name right? Shana or Shana?
Shana. So
Shauna.
I honestly, as long as it semi sounds like my name, I will answer to it because I'm so used to being called so many different names over the years. So
Well, I went live and then I started to say it and I was like, oh no, I didn't even figure out how to say her name right. So, okay, so Shauna.
Shauna, yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, that's very pretty. I like that.
Thank you.
Well, I'm glad we finally made this happen. Thank you so much for joining us and taking a little time to share your story with us.
I know our schedules were bouncing back and forth on each other, so
that is life.
Made it. Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
that is life for sure. Okay, so let's just start it off by tell us a little bit about who you are, your background, where you live. Give us a little bit of an intro.
Okay, so I am Shauna Flossom, or Shauna DeJesus is my married name and everything. I'm a mom of 3. I married my college best friend. Many people look at me and they're like, you have 3 kids? I'm like, I do. I have a 17-year-old will be soon.
That's insane.
Yes, it is. It is really crazy. What else? I got diagnosed with MS 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, which was a whirlwind. I help other women get healthy and feel confident. A lot of them are MS or other autoimmune warriors. I don't know if there's a little bit more you want to know about me. I'm usually pretty modest, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, we always like to hear sort of, the lead up to MS. So what made you sort of suspicious that something was wrong?
Let's see. The first time I showed any signs of MS was when I was pregnant with my youngest, 8.5 years ago. And I started having heart issues, and then I went numb from here all the way down to my feet. And my doctor tried telling me, my normal PCP tried telling me it was a normal part of pregnancy. I'm like, I've had 3 kids. I mean, this is my 3rd kid. I know it's not part of pregnancy. So I ended up getting brought to the neurologist, and long story short, that was a pregnancy that I will never forget because my son and I almost died. I had to have a PICC line and everything else just to try to take away the numbness away from me. And they ended up diagnosing me with transverse myelitis. And little known too, I was definitely not on my own health journey then. So I ate very unhealthy and everything else. So I didn't really think too much to look into it. I was just like, oh, okay, I took it at face value. And they had brought up like the smidgen of like the possibility of MS might later show up. But I never really thought too much into it because nobody else in my family has MS as far as I know.
Right.
And then fast forward 6 years later after my son is born, and I start going numb and tingling in my feet. And the last time I had felt this was 6 years prior while I was pregnant with my son. So I'm like, okay, well, I've felt this before. I'm going to go get it checked out. After spending 24 hours in the hospital, I find out, well, I have 6 lesions. I have 5 on my brain and 1 on my spine. And I'm going, oh, but the doctor does not want to straight out tell me that I have MS. So I'm like, you're telling me I have MS then? And he's like, yes. And he goes, thankfully, though, from the lifestyle I decided to do change into after my son was born, I kept my MS accidentally in full remission. That kind of puts things into perspective to keep doing what I'm doing so I can stay as healthy as, I am now and everything. And for the first couple of weeks of, having the MS flare up and everything, the full on flare, it was terrible. But I will say, since then, I've been able to manage things, through good old fashioned food and fitness for me. And I've been doing pretty well. As long as I get enough sleep. If I don't get enough sleep, oh gosh, that's a whole different story.
Yes. Hey, I'm gonna grab my headphones. I totally forgot them.
Oh, sure,
So
go
just
for
like
it. Go
live
for it.
live headphone swap. Hold on one second.
Exactly. It helps us be able to focus better.
I'm
Oh
like so I was
see
like
somebody
so
over there,
unprepared.
too.
All right, I'm putting them on. Hold with us, everybody. Just gotta swap them out because my phone just sounds really weird without them. Okay. All right, I think I can hear you.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, that's much better.
Yeah, it's much more focused. And don't mind the gloves, guys. I'm doing a hand treatment. I don't have anything weird going on over here.
I didn't even notice, so.
I'm like, I feel like I'm like, what do I do with my hands?
Hey, do a dance if you want to.
Exactly. I already did that
so you talk about living a healthy lifestyle and how that helps with your symptoms. So tell us some of the ways that you sort of make that happen every day. What are some of the healthy lifestyle things that you do?
So a lot of it for me is making sure I stay active. And I will notice if I ever stop for like a week or so from working out, and most of my workouts are no more than 30 minutes a day. So it's not like I'm doing some crazy gym all day workout. Like you're looking at my gym right there, but I work out for 30 minutes a day, and that keeps me loosened up. It keeps me from stiffening up, being achy all over, having chronic fatigue. But also on the other end of the spectrum, I also need to stay getting enough sleep, because that will then hinder what I've been working towards. Another thing for me is like nutrition is huge. So I eat pretty basic. I eat proteins. I eat vegetables. I am a low sugar person because I've noticed sugar tends to bother me more so. Low sugar and low starchy carbs for me. So I try to do minimal carbs in that regard. But a lot of it is, vegetables and proteins and, yogurts and simple things like that. Like things that come from the earth, I eat. I noticed if I eat something out of a box, and this is not me to dog everybody who, I like my good cookies out of a box once in a while, don't get me wrong. But I will notice that my MS will go downhill a little bit more if I do so. So a lot of it, or if I don't stay on eating my meals per normal every day, because this has been able to be my medicine for me, is if I don't eat lunch. Yes, I am definitely gluten-free, Jackie. When I eat gluten, since being diagnosed with MS, my skin literally flares up and I'm just ripping my skin apart. So I tend to stick away from gluten things because I know what it'll do to me, and it's terrible. I mostly do grain-free, if anything. I definitely try to stay away from grains in general, just because they flare up my gut. Because I don't know if, many know this or not, but the brain and the gut are literally connected. There are two brains. So whatever affects your gut is going to affect your brain and vice versa. And that is literally how I've been able to manage it over the last few years.
And so did you do a lot of sort of testing and swapping out and seeing what worked and what didn't?
Because I will say, just like trying, drugs that the doctors give us and everything else, it's going to be trial and error. Some things are going to work for you that used to not, and vice versa. Some things are not going to work for you that used to be fine with you. And it's the same things with, when they say, hey, I want to put you on this disease modifying, drug, or I want to put you on a nerve blocker, then, things like that. It's trial and error, but at least I get to be my own advocate. And that's what I always suggest to anybody, is be your own advocate first. If you notice something is bothering you, obviously it means that needs to go to the wayside. That's just my personal opinion. I just try to listen to my body because it kind of knows what it wants. And that's pretty much it right there.
So have you been on a variety of different medications as well?
So the only thing currently I take, because I have very bad vertigo, and my big goal for me is to rid of that. So I've had major vertigo for the last 3 years. I don't know what sets it off with my MS, but it's the one. So I take a low dose nerve blocker for that. But any of my other symptoms that I have with MS, it does not touch any of those. The first year with my MS, I did infusions, I did at-home injections, I took oral pills, and because of my lifestyle and how I eat very clean, my body rejected all of them. And I felt so much worse for weeks on end because of those. So I've learned to not fight against what my body is telling me.
I think that's such a good point to make, and also just like such a strong statement for what we put in our body in terms of food and also sleep, like you were saying, makes such a difference. And I think no matter what you're talking about, people always discount the importance of food and how we eat. I mean, it's such a game changer for whether it be MS or anything else. It's such a game changer.
And stress is a huge factor, because I don't know about any other MSers on here, but stress for me, the second I am amped up in stress, my vertigo is kicking in, my eye is going blurry, my legs are weakening. It is insane what just any type of stress can do on the body, whether you have an autoimmune disease or not.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously everyone is prone to stress, but you have 3 kids, which I have 2 kids. So I know that kids can be extra stressful. How do you deal with it? How do you deal with the stress?
So for me, family-wise, we'll go there first, and then external-wise, I focus on what I can control. I cannot always control what somebody else is doing, but I can verbalize to my family, hey, I'm having a hard time and these symptoms are going on. Do they physically understand what I'm going through? Absolutely not. And I am glad for that. But I will be like, hey, to my husband or my kids, I'm going to go take some time. I'm either going to go lay down and rest. And for me, it's like a good 15 minutes. I can lay there and not even sleep, but just lay there and relax and cool back down. Fine. You would think nothing ever happened. Or I will step out, whether it's outside in my yard or over near the ocean, because the ocean's so close to me. Some people like, the woods better and everything else. I'll go grab a blanket and I'll go out and I will meditate and I will sit or I'll journal. Super simple things that, we take for granted that we have, that literally is just bringing myself back down to, my normal level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, those are such important practices. Again, I always say this, but for anyone, like whether they have a disease or not, like you were saying, and it's sort of like when you have MS, it sort of forces you into that position. So that's great that you found those tactics. Now, on your Instagram, I love following you on Instagram here. You always have such fun videos and you have such a positive spirit. So where do you get that mindset from?
So it took a lot of work. I will tell you, everybody on here, that way even prior to MS, I had started, working on the more positive mindset, but I was not always this person. I was the negative Nancy. I always looked at the worst of things. I always assumed the worst of, people and situations. And I just got tired of feeling that way. And that's what it came alongside with, like, me taking care of my, my internal health with, working out and, eating better, being more mindful of what I'm doing to my body. Because for me, I feel like this is our temple. We can either build that temple up or we can easily break it down. And, this is something that I've worked very hard over time to just go, you know what, I don't like being that other way. So I'm going to continue moving forward this way. And I cannot believe how long it took me to get here, and take for granted that what I could do for myself easily, because it's such an easy thing to do, but it takes time in doing so. And some people just don't want to invest that time, and you're just going to continue feeling worse. I've been there. So that's what I just got sick and tired of feeling that way.
And you have a coaching program, right?
I do, yes. I actually help women, like I said, get healthier and feel confident, because that was another thing I lacked, was confidence in myself. And over time, I worked on myself, and I got to a point where I felt figuring out enough about myself that I was like, you know what? Why not share this with other people and help them as well? There's so many out there that could, feel better just through simple food and moving their body. And, I like being quirky. I like being silly. I like showing that side of me, and it brings out the positives in people. I call myself the annoyingly positive person.
That's awesome.
I'm like, I'm proud of being the annoyingly positive person that's around when everybody else in the area is like, and I'm like, hey, while we think about it on the light side of things, like it could be worse.
How do your kids feel about that?
It drives them nuts sometimes. They're glad for it.
Yeah, in the end, they're going to look back and they're going to be really
Exactly.
thankful
And
for that.
yes, even my husband is just like, I am so glad I married you. He goes, I don't understand where it's come from, but it is amazing. So
That's awesome.
yes.
Well, so many of our friends here at MS Insight are newly diagnosed. I always tell people, you know, when we see people joining our support group, a lot of times people will say they've even just been diagnosed today when we ask them. And so it's crazy. It's just people going online and searching for anything. And so we always like to ask people, you know, what would be your best advice to someone who is that person who just got that diagnosis today or last week, and they're sort of in the very beginning stages of this journey?
I will say this because it's like talking to myself. I found out when I first found out with the diagnosis and everything, it didn't really truly sit in. And when it hits you, I'm not going to lie, you're going to be scared. You're going to feel like a wreck and everything else. But don't give up on yourself, because our diagnosis does not determine who we are. It is not us. We have MS. MS does not have us. And, you know, one thing I like to say is surround yourself with where you want to be. If you want to feel better, well, then surround yourself with the things that are going to help you do so. And do not give up on yourself, because, again, you're only allowing the disease to win. And the disease doesn't have a brain. You're the brain. So why not control and love on yourself more and just keep going, because there is another side out of that tunnel. And when it seems like you don't have someone there, I put myself out there. If you need a friend, my name is down in the bottom of this, and it's tags and everything, guys. Reach out to me. I love talking to everybody. I will be a beacon of light for anyone and everyone who needs it. So don't feel like I will shun you away. And that's what I say to people. Just keep trudging. You got this.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's great advice. I mean, I think that's why we do this, is to put this out there and let people know they're not alone. And because that makes all the difference, to not feel alone. And thankfully we have the online community now, whereas in years past,
exactly.
It was a totally different story.
I could only imagine for decades ago, the people who didn't have this, how alone they felt. And I'm glad that we have this option to be able to share with others that you don't have to feel alone, because you're not.
Yes, definitely. Well, Shana, I got your name right. Thank you so much for just sharing your story.
I'm so honored.
We're going to get this out there. We put it up everywhere on YouTube and Facebook and all the places. So look for it there. And thank you. And just keep being a light and a positive force for everyone in this community. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you. See you later.